A dog under 22 pounds goes down a badger set and doesn't come back up until the badger does. The same dog, hours later, is holding a full-grown wild boar at bay in a forest clearing, darting in and out of range of tusks that could open its ribcage in one pass. And in parts of North America, that same breed has been filmed doing something its German founders never planned for at all. Circling a bear, barking it into a standstill, buying the hunters behind it the seconds they need. Different continent, different quarry, same dog. That range, badger to boar to bear, isn't an accident of a versatile animal finding new jobs. It's the direct engineered result of a decision made in 1926 by a small group of German hunters who looked at the fox terrier and decided it had stopped being able to do its job at all. Show breeding had stretched its head, lengthened its legs, and lightened its bone until the animal on the bench barely resembled the animal that used to disappear underground after quarry twice its size. So, they didn't try to fix the fox terrier. They walked away from it and built something else entirely. That decision, a deliberate, organized break from an existing breed's governing club, is the part of the Jagdterrier's story that gets skipped over in favor of the highlight reel, and it's the part that actually explains everything else about the dog. Take the coat color because it's the detail people notice first and understand last. Jagdterriers are required to be black and tan, occasionally with a small white marking on the chest and almost never anything lighter. That's not an aesthetic preference carried over from some ancestral terrier line. It's a safety mechanism. A dog working underground against fox or badger, driving the animal toward an exit hole while a hunter waits above with a gun, needs to be instantly distinguishable from the quarry the moment it breaks cover. A pale or brindle terrier moving fast through undergrowth reads, for a fraction of a second, like the fox it's chasing. Black and tan doesn't. The founders wrote that distinction into the standard not because it looked purposeful, but because a hunter's split-second decision depended on it. The physical structure tells the same story from a different angle. Breed founders capped the chest circumference deliberately, because a terrier that can't compress its ribcage through a badger set's narrowing tunnels is a terrier that gets stuck, and a stuck terrier below ground with an angry badger is a dead terrier. So the standard specifies a chest that can be spanned by 2 hands. Not as a measurement for a judge to admire, but as a functional ceiling that determined which dogs were allowed to breed forward at all. Everything about the Jagdterrier's proportions reads as an answer to a hazard, not a preference. Everything else about the dog reads as the same functional logic applied outward. A fully grown Jagdterrier rarely tips past 22 pounds, standing somewhere around 13 to 16 inches at the shoulder, small enough to disappear into a badger set, dense enough in bone and muscle to survive what's waiting inside it. The coat comes in 3 legal textures: smooth, broken, or fully wire-haired. A spread the standard allows because none of them compromise the job. What the standard won't bend on is substance and jaw strength. The 2 traits that separate a dog that can hold a bite through a boar's thrashing from one that can't. It's a working design built for a short, intense career rather than a long, idle one, and the dog's lifespan is surprisingly long, 12 to 15 years on average. Underground work against badger and fox was the founding task, but the breed didn't stay confined to it for long. And this is where most retellings flatten the dog into something narrower than it actually became. German hunting culture organized itself around the concept of the Gebrauchshund, the utility dog, valued precisely because it refused to specialize. A Jagdterrier that could bolt a fox in the morning was expected to track a wounded deer through dense cover by evening, working blood scent over uneven ground for hours at a pace a human could follow on foot. That tracking work, known as Schweißarbeit, demanded a completely different temperament from the explosive aggression needed underground. Patience, nose discipline, and the steadiness to hold a trail without overrunning it. Very few breeds are asked to hold both registers at once. The Jagdterrier was bred to. Boar hunting pushed the demands further still. Wild boar in German and Central European forests were neither small nor cooperative, and a terrier sent to bay one, to hold it in place through noise and nerve until hunters arrived, was working against an animal that could kill it in seconds if the dog hesitated, or, just as dangerously, if it committed, without the tactical sense, to stay clear of the boar's tusks. This is where the founders' obsession with gameness, the almost untranslatable German hunting term for controlled, purposeful courage, separated a good Jagdterrier from a dead one. Gameness wasn't recklessness. A dog that charged in blind lasted one hunt. The trait being selected for was closer to composure under threat, the willingness to stay engaged with danger without losing the judgment to manage it. It's the same trait that let the breed transfer, decades later, and an ocean away, onto black bear. A dog small enough to lose a straight fight staying just outside the swipe of a paw, holding position on noise and nerve rather than committed contact, until the hunters caught up. What makes this history worth telling isn't the list of jobs. It's the shape of the decision that made the jobs possible. The Fox Terrier Club of the 1920s wasn't run by people who hated working dogs. It was run by people optimizing for a different outcome, ring success. And that optimization quietly, gradually, produced a dog less capable of doing what its name implied. The breed's founders didn't accuse anyone of malice. They simply recognized that a breeding program measured against beauty and a breeding program measured against a badger set would diverge, given enough generations, and they weren't willing to find out how far. The Deutsche Jagdterrier Club still runs performance-based breeding evaluations today, not confirmation shows, as the primary gate for registration, a working test standing in for the ribbon. That's the inheritance worth sitting with. The Jagdterrier isn't interesting because it's fierce or rare or German. It's interesting because it's a documented case of a group of breeders looking directly at the mechanism by which working ability erodes. Incremental selection for appearance, generation after generation, with no single decision looking harmful in isolation, and building an institutional firewall against it almost a century before the same erosion became a talking point in nearly every other working breed's history. The dog is small. The argument it represents is not, and the name itself gives the whole thesis away. Jagdterrier, quite literally hunting terrier. A description so plain it reads almost like a rebuke aimed at every breed club that forgot the word meant something. I just want to say a massive thank you to those who have let me use their clips, where I've linked their social medias down below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like the video and let me know what you'd like to see next. See you in the next one.